Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Pitch Please, the podcast where people who play games pitch ideas to people who make them. My name's Alex. I never say that. Tom, how are you?
Oh, that was really weird. I don't know why. My name is Tom. Hello. We're joined by regular developers, starting with Chris.
Hello, I'm game developer and Times Magazine's 69th most influential man of the year.
Stools. Nice. We're also joined by James.
Hello, I'm James. Drink More Glurp developer.
Okay, so James, we need to talk about inflections in sentences.
No, I enjoy the way I'm doing it.
And also, returning after a long break, we've got Ruta.
Hello.
Welcome back.
I'm Ruta and I'm second half of Landlord Super.
Second half, that's very humble.
She puts the super in Landlord Super.
Which also has a horse in it now, I hear.
The new update is out.
Yes.
So go play it.
It has a horse.
What you can pet.
And you can pet it.
You can pet the horse.
And he makes really cute sounds.
Yeah, he neighs, right? He whinnies? Is it a whinny or a neigh?
Can you make the noise?
I can't remember.
Oh, okay.
We've got a slightly different structure this week because we've had like a letter. It's not a pitch. We still have a bunch of pitches, so please keep sending them in to, where can they send them in, Tom?
At Pitch Please Pod, Pitch Please Without the Vowels Pod with the vowel on Twitter. And send us all your letters. We love opening fan mail. And most of the time it's people saying, please fix this game.
The one that you came up with, and fix that as to. Well, it's not just actual games; it's fix your own ideas.
Fix our ideas because they're garbage.
That is exactly what we have. What we have this time. So I can't remember the person's name. They tweeted it to me. I'll have to find this person after and put it in the show notes or whatever they call them.
Gary.
Yeah. Thanks, Gary.
Thanks, Gary.
Cheers, Gary. The title of this is "Fixing Fool Guys."
What?
Okay.
There was nothing wrong with that one. What are you talking about?
So, Fool Guys was an episode that I think we all felt like we're getting there, but we didn't make it, right?
It ended as like 4 different games, right?
You should sum this up because Ruta wasn't there.
Let's do a repitch to Ruta and see what you think, okay?
Okay.
So
that
Fool Guys. So this was originally a mix between the 2 most popular games on Twitch right now, Among Us and Fall Guys. Right, where there's a traitor deception game running around a ship trying to kill people, whereas Fall Guys is, obviously 60 people running to the end of a Takeshi's Castle style obstacle course. And the idea came about from when I was watching a load of people hacking the game. And most of the time that I play Fall Guys now, I'm just watching the people flying or watching the people that could be hackers. And I was trying to come up with a way to introduce that as a traitor deception game. So I thought Fool Guys, I didn't come up with the name, by the way, was a game where you play as a hacker. There's teams, right? There's the innocent people who are just playing the game normally, and you are a hacker that has powers that can, I don't know, if it was a first-person shooter, you've got like unlimited ammo, or you can't die, but you have a feign death button, and you're trying to win the game without being identified as the hacker. I thought it was a really cool idea.
And then we said, no, fuck that, rats.
James had a rat idea.
Yeah, and then it turned into everyone is rats. Some of the rats have superpowers. You're like in a scientist lab. Some of the rats have superpowers, like maybe, I don't know, they can go through walls, or they can fly, or they're super fast, or they can poop, I think was another thing.
They have to poop, Tom.
They have to poop to communicate. So the game is, you are... If you are the traitor or the imposter, you are a superpowered rat that is trying to get through a varying level of courses without revealing that you have superpowers, but you have to win. I compared it to the scene in The Incredibles where the Flash, what's his name? Flash Dash was running really fast in the race, but he couldn't run too fast to reveal he had superpowers. But they did want him to win, but they didn't want him to come first. But he didn't want to go too fast because of superpowers. So it was like that. That was the game. And now that I'm describing it again, Yeah, it sucks.
No, I like it. Come on, the rat thing makes it fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, this is how they open. Devs. So I guess not addressing us.
No.
To whom it may concern.
Just everyone else.
Yeah.
Oh no.
It was heartbreaking listening to your recent episode, Fall Guys, hearing a wonderful idea for a game and seeing you guys get so close to the perfect iteration
would you
for
look
it,
at that?
only to keep missing. I feel like that's the structure
to the
of the
real
podcast,
world.
right?
No, you know what? This is addressed to the devs, right? What they basically said there, to interject before they insult me, I know it's coming. They said it was an incredible idea, and the devs, addressed to the devs, you were so close, but you kept missing. You let me down. The idea was
just like
beautiful.
our professional careers, then I guess.
This is not new information to me. I've let a lot of people down. Like, you just joined the queue.
Okay. Well, it's fine because Gary has an idea, right? Gary's going to fix it for us.
What a top guy.
No worries. I took the liberty of coming up with what I think is a much improved version of Fall Guys, which I would love to make. I thought you could pull it off. First, keep the basic premise. A team of scientists is trying to develop a superpower-giving mutagen. So around 50 lab rats, around X lab rats, Chris, are put through a series of gauntlet challenges to compete for pieces of mutagen-laced cheese. Each round, there are a limited number of victory pieces to be awarded, and the number is reduced every round. Any rats that do not earn a piece of cheese are eliminated. Here's the thing. After each round, each rat that ate a piece of cheese gets to unlock a superpower from a small, random choice out of a large list of possible superpowers. These powers could be things like 10% speed, plus 10% speed, night vision, plus 10% balance, etc. Say there are 20 different superpowers, but in each round, each winning rat gets given a list of 3 or 4 of them, totally at random to choose from before the next round starts. Think the upgrades in Nova Drift, which is what I was just thinking as I was reading that out.
Yeah, okay.
Because I haven't properly vetted this document. The upgrades should have downsides too. Like maybe, like you suggested, move faster but harder to move slower, or night vision when the lights go out. You can't tell they're out, so you have to move normally unless other rats notice bumping into the walls, etc. Okay, so you don't want to be eliminated, but you also don't want to get noticed as having superpowers. Every player will also have a suspicion meter. So we've got a meter in there that will fill up when they use their powers or do things like pass another rat, move while in the dark, avoid a trap, etc. The scientists, which are AI, will pick the rat with the highest suspicion meter to dissect for science at the end of the race. So you want to come out with the most victories and avoid being picked by the scientists at the end. Maybe something for the eliminated players to do is spectators who can influence remaining players' suspicion meters by doing mini games or something, like a little How the Ghosts Work in Among Us. So what are you guys thinking of that?
So wait, I think I'm a little bit confused. So there's X rats, we'll say 50. And at the end, say like Fall Guys, there's, 30 pieces of cheese. Because it says that if you don't get a piece of cheese, you're eliminated. But there are people that don't have powers as well. So are they not eliminated?
Basically, imagine it with Fall Guys, but the winners at the end get to choose a buff. So
everyone has powers.
So everyone at the start, but everyone who then passes on gets a buff, and then everyone from there, either if they don't get eliminated, they get to pick another power to go on top of that, and then they get to pick another one, and they get to, so you pick. So there were 2 ways I was thinking about it. Is where you either know what level's coming up next, so you can pick a mutation based on what that is, or you just go, okay, this is like the most generic, or this, because otherwise you can build up metas, and I think everyone just goes for one thing after a while if you know what's happening. Right. So you pick hey, I've got speed now. I've won this next round. Now I'm going to get make a 10% higher jump, which might help you out. Which means you might not have to climb. Instead of this, you can just jump over the wall rather than climb it, which is a little bit faster. But you don't know the next game that's coming up. It's essentially Fall Guys, but with mutations after every win.
With buffs.
And the suspicionometer feels like less of a, it feels like a stamina bar, right? Like the more you use your power, say 10% speed, the more you're running at an increased speed, is your suspicion goes up. And I guess once that caps out, you're then caught and discovered.
Well, yeah, I like the idea that you see a hand moving over the rats, over the puzzle, or the whatever the game is, and then like their hand kind of zones in, gets closer depending on like the suspicionometer of the rat. Like if it's get higher, then the hand gets closer, and it moves away as it goes down, just to increase that kind of that frenzy feeling of, oh fuck, I need to be careful.
It's like an invisible, if it's an invisible suspicionometer, and it's just the visual of the hand coming close to pick you up, almost like the things from Zelda.
You'd have to randomize the levels though, because or at least randomize the placement of the cheese, because you'd just learn the map and you'd go, I know exactly where I need to go. Off I go. I win.
I thought the cheese was just at the end of the course,
but I thought they said there's 30 pieces of cheese. I guess you could just have one big wheel of cheese at the end and you take a slice or something. But I thought
is the idea that you basically, it is just like, say it's just like a Fall Guys map, like Chris says, and if you win that, then you are given you were given you were given a cheese, right?
Yeah, I think that in my head that works better. So think of cheese as just passing the finish line, right? That's you're rewarded after winning. You don't get the win for getting the cheese. I think there'll be too many variations of maps, as you said. Like if you know where it's going to be, you can just make a beeline for that. If it's the same with Fall Guys, you learn the map, you learn the secrets of the map, but everyone's getting to the same goal, and it's the advantages you gain along the way of having these powers and having these, just having knowledge of the maps as well, is what gives you the advantage. Then you get the cheese as much as you are not being eliminated.
I like the idea that by round 3 or 4, the pool is now closed in so much. There's 15 people in this round, and everyone is like using their powers so much, and you're like, now, right? I'm at the back. I need to use my power more. I need to use it more. I need to use it more. And you can see the hand coming in, and it's like, oh god. But I'm going to lose. If I don't, I'm going to lose. If I do, I'm going to lose. I kind of like that, but I think random power-ups, that's gonna frustrate me so much. Like,
as long as everybody gets the same.
I feel like in the end you would start blaming, like, oh, I couldn't win because I had like a bad choice of buffs or something like that.
Gave me a shit buff.
Yeah.
I think they didn't say that. They didn't say random as in you get give. I think it wasn't it random, and then you choose from a list of random. So
it's random from a large. There's like a larger pool, and then it will select 4 random.
So for me, I would
ones from that pool.
You go, hey, here's a random. So you learn them over time. You're like, okay, these are the possible ones, and then everyone gets the same 5. That they could choose from, and it's your choice from those 5.
Oh, everyone gets the same 5. Okay,
that's how I would do it, because then you kind of negate that fact of, oh, it's unfair because the game gave me this.
Is it
I think they stack as you win. I think that's how you should do it.
Oh no, sorry. I mean, like, what? Say if there were 30 rats, does it pick 30 from a pool of 100, and only one rat can choose that buff?
No, I think that everyone gets the same 5. Sorry. Okay. Well, whatever fucking number we chose. So then because that negates the fact that you can blame the game, it's the player's fault. They're like, oh, I should have chose that one instead. I had that given to me as an option, and I've chosen the wrong one.
I think. What if buffs randomly spawns in the map while players are running? So then it would, like, random people would grab random buffs, and
okay. So you could get like extra. You could have an extra buff on top of what you already have, but that then increases the risk of you becoming
something like that. Or maybe you don't have any buff and you just run through the map, and then randomly just a buff pops out and you grab it, and then like it's for other players it's the same. And like if you don't grab it, well, it's kind of like your fault because maybe it wasn't quick enough, or maybe you didn't notice, or maybe you just like I don't know, fucked it up.
Maybe you didn't even need it.
I think the problem then is you run into just RDM, and like you know, it's not. That's again, it becomes the game's fault for spawning it, near a player. It's like when you spawn back in like a shooting game, and you spawn next to an enemy. You're like, well, what the fuck was I meant to do there? If that happens to you,
but also that's like a loot crate spawning in Modern Warfare, right?
Yeah, but I think being rewarded for winning with a power up, which you could use. Which could either in the next round give you an advantage, or you choose the wrong one and gives you a disadvantage. Therefore, again, puts the blame on the player, not on the game. you get less frustrated because you're like, okay, next time I'll make that choice. If you do it where the game is the reason you are failing, then they're like, well, this game is just broken. Like, it's unfair to the people playing it.
Yeah.
If you make the players make the choice, they'll still want to come back.
Yeah. I've got a couple of points. One, are we just making Glurp Battle Royale?
We'll make
Think about it.
Full Glurp.
I mean,
because
sure.
it's like a multiplayer racing game with random modifiers. That's Glurp, but Glurp is not online with 60 people.
There's your sequel.
Well, there's the sequel. Dan.
Is that Glurp 2?
There's a sequel. Glurp 2. Now it's rats.
Yeah. Is that the tagline? Reckoning.
And
is that their tagline for the game?
Now it's rats.
Now it's rats.
And the second point I want to make is the random power-up thing reminds me a lot of a game that I've been playing a ton of recently, Hades. I don't know if you've heard of this. It's
I've heard everyone talk about this the past couple of days.
We should make the rats look really sexy and ripped, like all the gods do in Hades.
If the main character looks like Zagreus from Hades, holy shit, I would play the forever loving. Right, so the way Hades works is it's made by the guys who did Bastion and Transistor and Pyre and all those ones. So it's got amazing music. It's got a really cool style to it. It's going to be good. But every run that you do, it's a roguelite, where every run you do, you get power-ups and boons from different gods like Zeus or Aphrodite and all these different people. But they appear randomly. You don't know what gods you're going to get this run. You don't know. You do know in advance if you have like a multi-split path, like I'm going to take this route, this is going to give me this thing, or I could take this route, it's going to give me this thing. But you have no control, really, like any massive control over what gods you get. So it doesn't feel frustrating because it really quickly changes your play style. If you get this god, you're like, oh cool, I can be way more aggressive. If I get this god, I'm going to be way more defensive. And it changes the play style, and every play style is extremely fun. So, I mean, maybe that could be a thing, like maybe certain racetracks, like the 10% speed boost is a strategy that you could use, or maybe certain racetracks also have like jumping platforms, and if you have the higher jump, then you could take that route.
So there are different routes through the
for each level. Yeah.
I was thinking about so I was trying to imagine how the game should look, and I feel like rats are it's a very popular idea. And today I was reading about crows, and that the crows are like one of the most intelligent animals without dolphins and octopuses.
I think I could beat him.
And I think maybe instead of rats having a little crows running around and then jumping would be like a little fly, and then it could have more buffs in that way too. So you can have like a longer flying distance or something like that.
Why not just a series of different animals? Doesn't have to just be rats and crows. You could be like, here's the dolphin round.
Just lab animals.
Well, I think we chose rats because they're lab animals, not because.
Also, it had so many great naming potential, like rat race. Why do we call it rat race? By the way,
for fuck's sake. Yeah, that's true. But then we have to put in brackets, not the film.
This was a month ago.
Not the film.
No, I mean like different animal, but I feel like you could do that in a way where it's like with mutations, it's like spliced crow gene, and they use like this rat with like a wing, and it's like the mutations are.
The setup is it's an evil scientist who's like just experimenting on lots of different animals.
Also,
why just rats? Why do rats get all the fun?
Yeah, our idea for cosmetics as well was gruesome. It was like you could stitch an arm to his leg and stuff like that.
We could have just gone for like little rat hats.
Rats.
I was trying to imagine such a cute little fun game, like pinkish colors and stuff. But
well, I think that would work. But I think the cutesy aesthetic would be funny with the sheer amount of gore. Right, so like it's really nice and bubbly, and then it's just like fucking arm extruding out of a rib cage of a rat, and there's just blood, and you're like, oh yeah, I've got the extra swinging arm mutator.
It's got like it's got like really joyous music, like bam 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 bam.
You get like one of the buses, like an extra arm, which you can use to jump over one wall in a maze. But when you do it, it pulls the arm off, and then you start bleeding to death. So you have to get to the end very quickly.
The only thing I'll say is the suspicion-ometer is immediately at 100%.
Yeah,
maybe it's the rat with a giant arm. I reckon I'll dissect that one.
I think it's the one that's flying with crow wings.
Probably that one. The only thing I know is that if Tom wants sexy scientists, we've got this hand. We need a hand model to come in, and we'll photogrammetry.
You need to have a hand that is so sexy that you don't even ever see the rest of the body, but you can imagine, like, if the rest of the body looks as good as this hand.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say you don't even look at the rest of the game. You're just looking at the hand.
Maybe that's the cosmetics, right?
Yeah,
you just customize the hand. The scientist.
You just monetized it.
Yeah,
this is perfect.
in this process, I think I originally never had like a strong visual idea for the game. However, I'm for some reason imagining it as like a top-down game now, and I don't know why.
Yeah,
I imagined it high angle.
How it is as well.
Yeah. Okay,
I did imagine it 3D.
I just kind of like the idea of just seeing, even if they're quite small on the screen, but you don't have an idea of where you are, just a torrent of rats trying to funnel through this maze or whatever. And I think that could be cool. Also, it's a mega different spin to Fall Guys, and otherwise we'd be totally ripping them off, right? We don't want that.
I think we've just evolved Fall Guys. I think that's
we've mutated.
Well, no, sorry.
We've mutated.
We haven't. Sorry, we haven't.
Yeah.
Our listener has.
Fall Guys
whose
mutated.
name is Tim. Cypher Tim. At Cypher Tim. You can follow him.
Thanks,
Thank you very much,
Gary.
Tim.
Definitely.
I think you have absolutely improved our idea. I don't want to spend too much more time on it because we still have another pitch to get through.
Oh, okay.
But I feel like that was a pretty good one. What do you guys think overall?
Yeah.
Like, if we were to say would play now,
It's
or at
Rat
least
Race,
would play, right?
I'd play Rat Race.
Rat Race, yeah, would play, would make.
Not the film.
Still think it needs work.
No.
Certainly better than it was before. Okay.
He said the idea was good.
Okay, yeah, but we just didn't. It wasn't quite there. I think this is a lot closer to. Say if it was 99% there before,
Tom,
now it's 99.8.
Just because something's good doesn't mean it can't be improved upon.
That's I do
I mean,
think
come
it's,
on, Tom.
I think it's a game. I still don't think it's 100% my idea. I still like the idea of traitor deception, and you are trying to spot other players who are hackers and you're not a hacker. I still kind of like that. However, I won't deny Rat Race. This time it's rats. It's a good game.
Nice. Okay. Okay, so this week I have an idea and I really want to share it with you guys.
You've described this
idea. You've come to the right place.
as something that if you don't describe it immediately, it will fall out of your brain. Like your head is a bucket and you're constantly spilling over with this idea.
Yeah, so that's how a lot of my ideas work, is that I'll have it, and then if I don't say it the day that I get it, it'll go, and then I'll forget what it was. And
I got a tip for you.
All good ideas are forgettable.
I'll write it down, and then I'll look back at it and be like, what the fuck was that? I don't understand that.
We're in for a real zinger now. Let's see if you can explain this.
I wrote this down a few days ago. I'll start with the very basic pitch line, okay? And then I need to expand a little bit. But
elevator pitch.
And you know, this is very much open. This is an open floor, open to suggestions like usual. We can turn it into whatever else. But the basic elevator pitch is, it's Viva Pinata meets City Skylines. Okay?
That is not a combination I imagined.
Okay.
Love Viva Pinata.
Okay, but wait until I've actually explained what it is, because by the end of it, you'll probably be like, no, it's not.
Perfect.
I'm trying to see the mix, but go on.
I need to give you a bit of a backstory on this. So I recently saw a news article by a guy who wrote a book about mushrooms and turned it into
fucking watch out, everyone.
Yeah.
What a fun guy.
So he
Fuck.
That hurt Tom. That's actually hurt him. He's holding his head in pain. You shot him with a humour bullet. Look at that. He's clutching.
Oh, God.
Okay, so this guy, his name is Merlin Sheldrake, okay?
Of course.
Of course it is.
Yeah. Of course
he's not a wizard.
he sprinkled I don't know, whatever it is, like spores, I guess, on his book. He grew mushrooms.
He sprinkled some spores over all of his food, and now he's insane and writing books about mushrooms.
He allowed mushrooms to eat his book. Okay, so these huge, big mushrooms bloomed out, big, like cute, like I can't remember what they were called. Just what you would think of as typical, mushrooms, like size of my fist. Grew out of his book, like 10, 20 of them, not cordyceps. Okay,
chanterelle.
And then he ate it. He ate them. He cut them off and ate them. And apparently they were delicious. And this guy looked weird. And I looked it up and thought, oh, that's a weird book. I don't know anything about mushrooms. Fuck it, I'll read it. Because this guy fucking loves mushrooms. Like, it is his life.
I mean, he ate his book.
Like, yeah. And I started reading it, and it is absolutely fascinating. So it's called Entangled Life, I think. It's really, really good, by Merlin Sheldrake. And but basically, the idea is that he's saying, and this isn't just like a speculation. This is like I think a generally held belief in the science community. Whatever. This is fact that I'm saying right now. But the way that fungus works is that it basically provides almost kind of like the bed for lots of other life in the world, like so much more than we know. The way it connects all life. And there were a bunch of different examples that he was giving of how like weirdly intelligent fungus can be. Like, have you guys heard about the slime mold, like the experiment they did with the Tokyo and the slime mold?
I think I could take a mushroom in a fight.
Alex, what you don't know about me is that in my spare time, I am all about that Tokyo slime mold experiment.
So one of the experiments they did with this type of fungus, which is called slime mold.
I can talk about it.
Some scientists, they recreated like this. It was something like, I'm paraphrasing. All of this is paraphrasing. It's probably bollocks, but they
talking a bunch of shiitake.
You're not wrong.
They recreated the center of Tokyo using like basic small obstacles like pebbles and things and pools of light, because slime mold hates pools of light. And you can actually go on YouTube and watch this. And within a day, they plopped slime mold in there, and within a day, it had recreated almost exactly the Tokyo railway network, because that was the most efficient route through the city. And the way this fungus works, and not just slime mold, but lots of different funguses, like you have these things called hyphae or I don't know, basically tendrils at the bottom of fungus that reaches out and connects this whole network, connects all plant life together, trees, plants, like a fungus, like lichen and all this stuff. And it all feeds within each other, and they can learn as well, like weird stuff, like they can pick up traits, not like, it's called like horizontal acquisition or something, where it's like you don't learn from lineage, like they literally can just like connect with other things and learn and like inherit genes. Just like it would be the equivalent of us swapping curly hair for straight hair and things like that. Not just
it's like a mushroom CRISPR.
Yeah, and like the way, and so there are actually like plants in the world that have lost the ability to photosynthesize, so they're just white. They don't have the green tint thing anymore, because that's part of it, and they just feed off this fungal network, which is connected to lots of other plants. It's really like it's nuts, and they can reach out like tens of like thousands of kilometers across forests, and like, so basically everywhere underneath you in the ground now, it's fungus. It's all connected. Okay, that's the very basic. That's the very basic idea. This is the premise
of Star Trek Discovery, isn't it?
I was about to say season 2. Is it
season 1 more than season 2?
This is what I was thinking about when I thought of the idea of imagine if you had imagine a really chill game, okay, where you have you can have a bunch of different clearings, basically, or like a mini biome. Say if it's like a clearing in a wood, a meadow, like maybe a coral reef, or somewhere on a mountain, basically kind of like some kind of unique area in the wild where you have control over all these small organisms, these basic organisms. So not insects and not animals. You're controlling things like the plant life and the fungus and the trees, and all that kind of stuff, basically. And your job is basically to manage the flow of energy throughout this system and help it grow, which will then in turn attract other kinds of plant life, which will allow you to acquire different traits. So things like photosynthesis or I don't know, cannibalism. You could just do, you can have like whatever fucking weird traits you want to put in, which then in turn will bring in other animals and insects into the clearing, which will then
cannibalism called cannibalism, or is it just being if you're a vegetarian as a plant, isn't that the same thing?
I don't know. That's a very good question. Maybe it's cannibalism.
Isn't it because you're eating your own species?
Oh,
is that what it is?
Okay.
Maybe. But maybe like the idea of, you could even have like, silly traits like being able to make plants carnivorous.
Big head mode.
But the idea is that basically the idea is that you start off with a clearing that is basically nothing. You have maybe you start off with a little toadstool of fungus, and then using that, you have to send out your
don't
roots
underestimate that.
to scout what's there. Maybe there's at the other side of the clearing, there's a single plant and you want to connect to that. So you go and connect, and this plant has a little trait that allows you, that is like, I don't know, you can acquire the ability to scout further. So you then scout further, and then you find a tree, and then you're connected to a tree, and that tree is connected to more flowers,
But what do you mean? What do you mean connect? Like what do you? I'm confused. So you have a clearing, and you just move to another clearing?
No, so it's basically the whole thing would all take place in one clearing, but you can zoom in, you can go down to basically the microscopic level. So imagine it as a city, like in City Skylines. Okay, so now I'm bringing it back in. Oh, that was my doorbell.
Oh,
that's the police turning up.
The idea police.
I'm being arrested for
your
insane.
ideas.
So imagine it's like City Skylines, and in City Skylines you're managing. Well, for the sake, you're managing one city. At least that's how you start off, right? Which is one network, and it's all connected by roads, right? You start off with one, so you're just planting. So in this illustration, the roads are the fungal network, which is what they're called, like mycelium, I think, or something like that. So basically, it's the bits of the fungus that goes underground and connects to every other form of plant life around you, and it grows, finds the most efficient way through, connects to other plant life, connects those plants up to other plants and flowers and trees and whatever, and through that learns new traits, learns new ways to adapt and to improve the clearing around it. And then from that, you can encourage other kinds of animals and insects to appear. Maybe, like, for example, you connect the network up to a certain kind of like a flower that then brings in some bees. But then these bees also bring in, they also attack other flowers. So you have to learn some kind of trait that will allow you to be defensive against that. Or I don't know.
Right.
So that's the basic idea. And so
I honestly really like this idea, because I grew up when I was a kid. I was spending a lot of time in the forest, because we had the forest and we needed to take care of it. And the mushroom picking is a very popular thing to do in Lithuania. The last time when I went back to Lithuania, we literally just went to get some mushrooms, and we chopped them, we boiled them, we stored them for winter. So
did you ever connect them to books and then eat the book?
No.
Okay.
But yeah, I really like this idea. It sounds really fun.
I know it's quite nebulous, but that's kind of where I'm at. Like, that's why I kind of need your help to make it into something that makes sense, because I'm gleaning this from a book that is like popular science that is meant to explain it to idiots like me. I'm still not understanding it 100%, and I'm then explaining it secondhand to you guys. So it doesn't need to be like accurate.
It needs gamification, and I think I think you threw us at the beginning when you said Viva Pinata meets City Skylines, because it's neither of those. I don't really see the link there.
Well, okay, so for me, the Viva Pinata bit comes in where you are like, okay, I want certain insects and I want certain animals to appear in the clearing.
Yeah, that's what I got from that.
And what I really like the idea of is, say if you're working on this micro level, you're zoomed in and you're managing the flow of all of these different kind of these networks, and you're saying, okay, I want to pump in more energy towards this area, so these plants will grow more. and then they'll attract this kind of animal, this kind of insect or whatever. And then all of a sudden you hear a noise or something, or you see the camera shake and you zoom out and you're like, oh fuck, there's a deer in the clearing. It's come to feast upon these little plants that I've connected to the network.
Eat me. So the way I'm imagining it, in the way you're saying it, and trying to keep in the guidelines of Viva Pinata City Skylines, is that at the micro level, it's your utilities, your electricity, your waste, your water. The same way you
absolutely
have the above ground, below ground relationship in City Skylines of laying pipes and power grids. That to me is the gamification of it, where you could have, maybe there is a plant that generates, it doesn't have to be realistic, but in the world of things, generates the like signal energy, and you're like, good. And then there's like a relay mushroom kind of thing that can, help boost that, because that's the way it's evolved.
That absolutely is also a thing where you have different signal. Like there's proof to, or there's evidence to suggest that like you can have, say for example, you know how you have when wasps attack certain plants, the plants will release it's, I don't know, whatever they're called. They'll release some kind of chemical that will alert other plants. Well, that is also transferred throughout the fungal network. So that could be a trait that you could pick up. Like you can learn these things. James,
is this a turret defense game? Is this like a? It's sounding like you've got, I don't know, turret flowers that are early warning systems, and then you've got, because I mean, are you always defending against stuff, or is it just about? No,
it's not. It's just. I think it's just about, like in my head at least, I like the idea about it being you're just trying to create the little space that you want to create by allowing or disallowing certain species and certain animals to take habitat in there. Tom, sir.
So I think I have in my head a solid idea for what this could be, and I don't know if this is thematic to nature
please, I'm happy for it to go
or
anywhere.
mushrooms or anything. But like it's like I can see it in my head, and I kind of like it, and I'm like playing it in my brain right now, and I'm having a good time.
Okay.
So I'm imagining like that you start with this small mushroom at the very beginning.
Yeah.
And the aim of the game is to, like, I think if you look in a particular direction, you can see multiple points to latch onto, right? So you can see a sunflower, or I don't know, another mushroom or something, and you can immediately see, right, it gives me this, it gives me this, it gives me this. Like if you were to gamify particular plants, you could say, yeah, the sunflower does this, or this particular type of plant gives me more vision, or this particular type of plant gives me more tendrils to spread out.
Yeah.
And you basically just push this tendril out, a part of the network, to connect it into your network. And once you do, you then zoom into that area. The mushroom that you were before, you don't have control of that anymore. And you basically continue with chaining bonuses of, okay, I connected to this thing, it gave me this, so in future I have this bonus. And you just spread your network as far as you can. Maybe sometimes you get multiple chains, or maybe you connect to something and it automatically connects to all the other things. Increased radius, increased tendrils, increased bonuses. And by the end of this run, when it inevitably like fails because the bonuses have run out, or maybe you get to a point that's no longer, maybe it's no longer woodlands or whatever.
How far can you go?
That's when you can then finish the run and you zoom right back to the mushroom, and that becomes like the hub world. You've got that connection that you made, and it's given you particular bonuses, and you get back to the hub world and you're like, right, I gained this many resources throughout, and you see how that's affected your hub world. And then you just say, right, cool, it gave me this, and now you've got permanent bonuses to continue your chain in a different direction. And you say, right, now I'm going to go this way and connect these different things. So it's essentially I've made it a roguelike, right?
Yeah.
But I really like this idea of this just super chill. Like it's got this really like serene music. You're just
I think that's the core of it, the super chill. Yeah.
Yeah. The sound of like the tendril coming out is just like this when you connect to something, and then you get the bonus, and just every time you just get a new chain and a new chain, a new chain, and after like 3 or 4 chains, you come back and like, oh, cool. My little hub world is now grown into this nice little forest grove, and it's got all these different creatures in there that give me these bonuses to future chill runs. And And I can see it. I can feel it. I can play it.
James, did you had a bit of an idea during that?
Just from a visual standpoint, has everyone here played Ape Out?
Yes.
And so when you die in Ape Out, it shows you a zoomed out path that you took through the level. I'm seeing a really basically this is a really nice ethereal dot to dot, right?
Yeah.
And you can get these. I just like this notion that you could then zoom out of your run. I like this run approach and go, you can just see the little network that you've created. And then you just come back to the hub and it goes, yeah, I've got my constellation or my network over there. And that's providing, as Tom said, all those resources to then let me go. I'm going to go this way this time and try over here and see what I can get.
Yeah, and I think after 3 runs or 4 runs or 5 runs or even 20 runs, you then just have the opportunity to zoom out and just see this massive, expansive, circular network that you've created.
Yeah, because that's the problem, isn't it? Is that if you're in your clearing, I'm at odds as to how more stuff comes into your clearing in any sort of usable way. You kind of have to leave the clearing. You have to go out to then bring stuff back. Otherwise, would it just be fog of war? Would it just be there's always set things, or you randomize the placement of stuff and then you slowly discover it? You sort of need to have the effect of going elsewhere and coming back, I think.
So, Chris, you've
Hello.
got a point.
No, it was earlier when we were talking about the way it looks. I immediately, and Ruta might agree with me. Immediately, I went visualized it as very soft watercolors style art, like a Kami, but without the harsh black thick lines. Yeah, everything is very artsy.
I imagine everything very sparkly, a lot of lightning, very soft. Washed out colors.
Gloomy.
I think in gameplay style, I'm imagining it like the galaxy map in No Man's Sky. You know what I mean? Where you can just slide to the next thing, and it's just this really cool, easy way to just navigate this cluster of what is essentially nothingness to begin with.
Well, it's essentially a neural network for mushrooms, right? So it's that's essentially what a galaxy map is. It's essentially
I think
like a brain.
Can you take over a human at the end, or do you become sentient?
I don't think you should be able to control anything other than these basic organisms. No insects, no animals,
nothing.
There
is that fungus that does that?
Cordyceps.
It's the one that grows out the head of the ant.
God, yeah, he talks about that in this book. He goes into a little bit more detail than I knew, and it's really horrific. That could be another, that could be another thing that you perhaps want to acquire, or maybe you don't want to acquire it, but you can come into contact with that, and you could bring it back into your because there are some species of, for example, this is why I really like the idea of having animals and insects appear in your clearing to help encourage the growth of the biome. Is that you have there are whole species of ants. I think they're called leaf eater ants. And they exist. Their whole existence is based on them domesticating a certain kind of fungus, which they literally just take it and grow it in their little homes or whatever, and then they use it for food. And because of that, the fungus gets its own energy and whatever. Chris, you've thought of a name.
I was remembering something that I heard about the other day. So in Florida right now, there is a brain-eating amoeba in the water that people have been warned about. Right.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Okay.
Now hear me out.
2020.
This is actually set in the same universe and a prequel to The Last of Us. This is called The First of Us. It's where you start as the fungus that eventually takes over the world.
That makes it a lot less chill and relaxing.
Yeah. Maybe it is chill and relaxing. Super chill, and then curtains drop and it's dark and gloomy.
Dark thing where you don't realise on the surface of things. Yeah. What a twist, right?
So this this stuff, the cordyceps is but apparently by the time it'll infect the initial ants, and they get this thing that's called there's a weird word for it, but basically the ants are normally terrified of heights. They don't go high, these particular species of ant, but it infects them with this desire to go as high as they possibly can, and they do this thing called a death bite, where they clamp onto almost 99% of the time they clamp onto the exact same part of a leaf, like the biggest vein, and then they just fucking explode and shower down all these spores. And by the time the ant dies, its body weight is like 40% of its body weight is the fungus. That's how that's how fucked it is.
It's ridiculous.
It's nuts.
I can't believe the intelligence of a fungus where it's just like, I'm going to make this thing climb up to the highest point so I can rain spores from a higher point. That's mind-blowing to me.
I know, it's terrifying. But I like the idea that you could have that stuff in the clearing. It doesn't necessarily need to be a bad thing. That's just how these things work. That's just how the world, like the life works in this place, right? It should still be quite...
I think probably for the first time, I like this as just a really chill game. There's just like, there's no... like Cordyceps thing, it's cool, it's fun. But maybe you have certain threats, like you're trying to balance the ecosystem, right? Like you don't want too many mushrooms or this thing will happen. You don't want too many flowers or this thing happens. So maybe if things get slightly out of balance, certain things can happen, like they might break the chain. So maybe you can zoom out and you're like, you see a particular chain that you had at one point get severed. And you're like, oh, fuck, okay, now I've got less of this thing. I need to get more of these next time around or something like that.
I see.
What if you want a bit more like damp environment? So like moss and like pine trees and a bit more just wet. But then you decide to plant just like you decide to plant and have just simple grass. But then you start noticing that simple grass doesn't fit with other plants and it starts killing them. So you need to you need to choose and you need to figure out how to bring the moss, because the moss is the
how do
grass.
I get rid of the grass? That's what I really love. Like, where I feel like it's a constant little balance of like, not in a stressful way, but like, oh shit, I don't want this plant or this weed or whatever in here. How do I get rid of it? I create something else that brings insects in to get to, destroy it, or I don't know. James, what are you thinking?
Just thinking in terms of the setting, I think this is actually in the Avengers universe, and this is Thanos' garden on his planet. This is all about balance. He's perfectly balanced.
Perfectly balanced.
So this is set in the period where Thanos goes back to his planet and he just tends his garden, and he's like, you just go. You go. No, sorry. But as a serious idea, though, the thing that I think could be quite interesting is this idea of the sort of cross-pollination. You were talking about how the mushroom would inherit traits. So can you then say you can create new fauna by saying, I go out on a run and I bring back this trait, and I can choose to say, if I splice this together with this plant, I can create something new?
Yeah. So I was thinking in my head... Oh, sorry, Ruth, did you have an idea?
I was just thinking, I remember that I read somewhere that like if you chop a tree or just like a branch of tree, the tree later on releases a vibration if the same person comes next to him. So the tree kind of like releases some kind of vibration if he is damaged by that person.
What
if like
when Tom comes near me?
What if like it would be the same with the plants? If you do something to them and they didn't like it, they release vibration and they get stressed, and you cannot repeat that same kind of thing.
Yeah.
If you put
I see,
Is that like some sort of morality?
No, it's
meter?
like, what if you put some kind of weed because you want to get rid of some kind of animals or bugs in it?
Yeah.
But you stress out on other plants and you want to repeat the same later in the game, but plants are like, nope, I learned my lesson. I don't want this. Like, you're not going to do this. So you need to figure out another way.
That's when they rebel and it all becomes untidy and unruly and the vines go everywhere.
Yeah, that plays into the idea of it just being like trying to maintain a balance, like not in it. And I don't think it should ever be stressful, just in a kind of like, I just, I don't want this here, or, oh no, these wasps are coming in and they're eating this plant. I need to think of a way to get rid of them, or I don't want, I don't want the grass or whatever. But I think in terms of the horizontal acquisition stuff, I was thinking of, in my head, it was like, say if you could learn something like, I don't know, you come into contact with, your first plant that doesn't photosynthesize. So you learn the ability to remove photosynthesis. Okay. So then what happens if you then take that back into your network, into your little clearing, and then like in my head, it's almost like an inventory, not quite a tree, but it's like a drag and drop system. You've got like on the left side, you have all of the behaviors, all the traits that you've learned. And for each individual plant or tree or whatever, or fungus, you can drag and drop maybe a single new trait that they can learn. And once you've done it, that's it. Like you can't change them at any point. It's locked in. So if you were to go back to your clearing and be like, I wonder what happens if I remove photosynthesis from this oak tree. So you put in the trait that's like remove photosynthesis, and then all of a sudden it can't get energy from the sun. So it just fucking starts sucking it up from your entire fungal network and draining all of the other energy from the clearing. And then you have to try and fix that. Or, but the idea if you can play around with traits that might create interesting behaviors.
Could you maybe teach it another trait? Teach it the trait to like get energy from the rain or something instead. So you could have this ever evolving. It could never go back, but it can only go forwards. But
it can only go forwards, yeah. Or perhaps it would naturally learn something. Like if it's like, okay, like so it would the first thing it would do is learn to get energy from it would learn to get energy from the network. But then perhaps if it was a weeping willow, maybe it would learn to get energy from nearby insects or animals. Like it could wrap the tendrils around an animal and become like carnivore. I don't know, maybe that's too crazy. but like I like the idea of you being able to like mix and match some of these traits just to come up with interesting, even if it's just something like I want this tree to be purple.
What's not clear to me at the moment is not the game, but as in am I choosing these traits, or is it a result of my exploration? Is it a risk to go out of the clearing and I could pick up a trait that just comes back into the network and then just gets randomly applied, and that's when you have to counter that somehow?
It depends how you treat it as a game, right? Like, I think if you go very hard on the thematics, then you're gonna lose out a little bit on a game, right?
Yeah,
like,
100%.
If you have this, I'm imagining it kind of like Plant Rogue Legacy, where Rogue Legacy, you've got this run and you gain money and you come back and you spend. It's a roguelite, right? Where you go out, you pick up all these bonuses. And the run eventually and inevitably dies out. But then when you come back, you've picked up from this network, you've picked up these traits, these bonuses, these boons, and you can then apply them to future tendrils as you spread out. And I think if you treat it like, well, on this run, I'm going to use the photosynthesis trait, and it's not you're giving plants photosynthesis. It just means you've got expanded reach or wider vision or whatever. They have stats applied to them. And then you can go out for another run and say, right, I'm going to go this one, and maybe I'll get further. Maybe I'll pick up more resources that I can spend on whatever, quote unquote resources. I don't know what they could be spent on, but I think the traits could literally just be things that you pick that give you bonuses and negatives that are applied to each run, essentially. Maybe?
Yeah. Chris, what are you thinking? You've got
so how big is the world map? Like, is it like in City Skylines where you can expand constantly, or is it all about optimization? And I'm sorry in advance, is there not mushroom to expand? It's all very tightly packed, and like, is that into you how you see it? Is it all about so that I want to I don't pack as much into space as possible, or is it all about spreading?
It needs to be about optimization. I don't know. One of the driving feelings I had thinking about it initially was the idea that at some point you're going to zoom out and look at your clearing, and you'll just be like, "Oh, that's nice. Isn't that lovely?"
Well, the reason I talked about optimization is because, as you said earlier, and I briefly was reading an article about it whilst you were talking, and I was paying attention, was that the slime mold, they take the most optimal route. Like it's all about optimization, which is why I wondered, is that a factor? It's not just about spreading, it's about doing everything efficiently. The shortest route takes the least amount of energy, takes the least time to do. So is that a factor? Like, and how does that
only
affect?
At the micro level, right? Only at the management level, perhaps. Like when, like maybe that's something to consider when you're doing your runs.
I think to me, does it work like roads in SimCity and City Skylines where they cost, and the longer the road, the more cost.
Well, it's energy, isn't it?
Right?
Yeah, you have so much energy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, is that what we're going with as a resource? Where if you want to lay down these essentially roads, like lay them down to connect things, are they have a cost based on length? Is it optimal to like have nodes that are close, and how does that affect gameplay and resource management macro level?
Maybe that's part of the as I was thinking earlier, if you connect with something, you just inherit its trait you don't have a choice. If it's a case of it costs to lay a connection, it's like I can avoid this. I don't want this plant. It will give me anti-photosynthesis. But to go round it, I have to spend X amount more energy to get to where I want to be. So it's like, okay, I know if I connect to this plant, I'll get the anti-photosynthesis. But over here, on the other side of the clearing, I know if I expand over here a little bit, there's a little cluster of mushrooms that will give me another trait, which will counterbalance that. So maybe it's not a case of going out and coming back. It is a spread, but it's planning your route.
Okay.
It's like SimCity then, right?
I mean, I'm
the
not.
Overview.
What do you think, Tom?
I'm not imagining this as SimCity or City Skylines at all. I think I can see what you're saying. I think where you're saying you've got this view and you can say, I'm going to connect the road to this thing, and then I'm going to connect it to this thing, and later on I'm like, oh, I'm going to sever that connection because I don't like it or whatever. I think what I'm imagining with these runs again is say you connect to a mushroom and you gain the traits of this mushroom. I think you have you from that mushroom, that's now your central point, is you look around, you say, okay, there's this thing. Like if you have the slime mold, like you were saying, maybe you can see if I connect to that, my future tendrils are shorter because they need to be the most efficient route. However, anything I can connect to has an increased bonus. And then the next time you connect, if you keep connecting to slime molds, your tendrils get shorter and shorter, but you get mega bonuses. So you're trying to focus to get to a more populated area, or maybe you don't make it. And if you don't make it, you're like, right, okay, that's the end of that tendril run. But I got a shitload of resources because I slime molded it like fucking crazy. And then you get back and it's like, okay, if I did this route from this direction and got this slime route and this slime route, then I can get to the populated area and get tons of resources. And the network there will be extremely small, extremely efficient, and tons of resources. Like maybe it's even like spiral shaped when you look at it. And then you come back and that's just a route that is now closed off. You can't go down that route anymore. But you could probably go near it or something. Like it's already claimed into your network, and that's the end of it. That's just it then. Man, Chris, I can see it. I'm trying to.
For me, I get that. It is that, but it is also SimCity, but not at the level you're thinking of. Right. It's SimCity at the overview world level, where I built a city here which has access to coal. I built a city here which has loads of access to oil, and I share these resources. This guy, the government over here has the Department of Education building. The government over here has the Department of Commerce. So and those are now shared resources. And as you build out your city based on that one's got a huge ore deposits, so I know that I'm going to have a lot of trade over there. So as soon as that city gets built up, I can start trading to these other cities.
Okay.
But the other two cities also gain the trade HQ, and they also gain the abilities of that. So it's all about knowing where to build certain things to the advantage of the area that's in, but knowing that you'll gain those, like you said, they gain the characteristics of that.
I feel like these abilities should be kind of things that aren't just functional or will be better for you that will help you in future runs and things. Or I really like the idea that you are basically the main aim of the game, everything that you're doing is basically just trying to work towards making a nice clearing that you are happy with, like a nice area, and that's so the idea of having these just being able to even just inheriting traits where you can change the colors of certain plants and leaves and things, or even just having I don't know, maybe you connect to new kinds of fungus and with truffles, you can have truffles in which will bring certain animals to the clearing. That's going to have you have some nice deer wandering around.
I think we need to think about the animal side of it more, because if we want imagine our clearing is clear, and I want plants over here. I need to pollinate, or I need to drop seeds, or I need to. That's how you get the clearing that you want. There has to be some sort of plant growth. mechanic. There has to be something.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm imagining. Is
rather than
once
going,
you come back
always
from
going
run,
out,
like
what comes back?
The hub world is this tiny mushroom that you start with.
Yeah,
and maybe there's a list of like objectives on the side, like Viva Pinata, right? Where it's just like, oh, if you get 3 of these deers friendly,
then hang on a second,
you get more crows.
Earlier, I don't see how this is like Viva Pinata or City Skylines at all.
We've worked together to
now he's like, it's just like Viva Pinata.
I can see the Viva Pinata thing. I still can't see the City Skylines thing. But
the resource management at the micro level is the City Skylines thing. The utilities of how a city works.
I feel like we do have again 2 different games, right? There's the game that Chris is thinking of, and I think maybe what I started thinking of as well, which is like more the individual, like the micromanaging of the resources, and then also the Tom's run side of things, which is a bit different again, but they're not incompatible necessarily.
No.
I think that I'm thinking of 2 different gameplay styles based on the below ground micro level of running things and having to be optimal to get the best things, and then what happens in the above ground like level of things. It's a lot different, but like the Viva Pinata is above ground, the City Skylines utilities is below ground. Like that's how I'm imagining it, and you shift between those 2 layers of game.
I can kind of see this being like a claymation kind of style. All of a sudden,
claymation.
Like all the plants are made out of Play-Doh or clay, whatever. Or if it is 3D, it's that kind of really, I don't know, low poly but molded, kind of soft and colourful.
Okay. Ruta, how are you? How is this in your head now? Is it still the kind of watercolory, soft?
I think I'm imagining it more like a kind of Ghibli style, very magical,
that would work.
fairy tale-y, something like that.
Yeah,
very soft, beautiful colors.
Almost cell shaded, but without you could do the Ghibli style, but with
there's
3D.
One I forgot the movie. One of the movies from Ghibli Studios about the girl who is like a tiny girl, and she runs around.
Ponyo.
Yeah, probably. So that's kind of like.
I think it's Ponyo.
I will try to Google.
Like
she's like a little
tiny fish girl.
Yeah, and she's running around through all those. She's in the big house, and she runs around through all those grasses.
Oh, Arrietty.
Arrietty.
Yeah. Okay, that's great.
Do you think? Just one last thought. Do you think there would be like seasonal events? Do you think there would be random encounters, like a deer or something just does suddenly charge through your
rhino? Just tears the fuck out of your clearing.
I was more thinking like it might bring with it.
They build a housing estate. Would you? No, the government claims the land, and you're fucked.
Oh no.
Well, seasonal things that could make it like if you have like for example, if you were in an area where there were bears come out of habitation hibernation at certain times of year, right? And then they come into the clearing and fucking, I don't know.
I was just thinking there might be a way to get random seeds to be dropped that would grow plants that you're like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. And now, it's still chill, but it's like, oh, I just integrate them somehow.
I think there has to be some element of like, there are things happening that you have to respond to rather than you just have control of everything, right? Because that's the same in City Skylines. And I guess like even like, well, that's the same in like roguelites and any kind of like run or other game you do, like these kind of slightly more management-y games where you just have to respond to things that are happening as well as trying to and while trying to hit your objective, the goal that you want to do.
Just a flood.
A flood, yeah. A fire, forest fire, just fucking bursts through the whole thing.
A bear walks through and takes out big old shit. And you're like, oh,
and that brings all the shit
I can see a couple of fruity nuts in there.
That's great. That's what you want.
They're going to blossom later.
No, we should want dinosaurs. It should be in a prehistoric period.
Maybe. Well, that could be. That's the thing. Like again, this doesn't have to be one just woods. You could select. It could be woods. It could be coral reef. It could be mountainous. It could be fucking desert. If that's hard mode, maybe I don't know.
Just one cacti.
Some sort of city builder.
I don't think we have time to discuss anymore. I feel like I really would like to, but I don't know. Like, it's a lot of things, but Tom, what do you feel like it is in your head at the moment? Can you give us a...
Yeah, I mean, I won't pretend to have any idea what nature is, but I think I'm gamifying this more than I am sticking to the theme. But yeah, it is this small mushroom that has the ability to connect to other plants. And the first run you have is the mushroom just connects to a thing, and you can see before you connect to it, this thing will give me this bonus, this negative, whatever. Then you can see all the other things you can connect to. There's 3 things you can pick, and you're like, right, I want to connect to this thing. And you connect to it, you get that bonus, extended reach, extended vision, whatever. And then you connect to another thing and another thing and another thing, stacking bonuses as you go, and maybe stacking perks. Like maybe you get far enough out that you find this rare thing you connect to that's like, oh, cool, I've got this perk, and that's a permanent bonus. And yeah, eventually the run ends, like you slither back to the mushroom at the beginning, and you're like, okay, how has this affected it? I collected 3 mushrooms, I collected 4 flowers, I connected to 5 trees. Has this given me anything? And you see just bam, the hub world, this small mushroom, the area around it expands, and it's like, it gets more diverse.
Yeah.
And then you're like, cool, I'm going to go for a new run with this perk I collected from a previous run that gives me, I don't know, the ability to chain my connections. Or maybe I've got shorter connections, but they're double as effective, like the moss thing. So you go for a new run, and you go in a different area, and you uncover more of the map, and eventually that run dies out, you pick up more perks, and you come back, and it's like, cool, now I've got 60 mushrooms, I've got 40 flowers. What does that mean for the hub world? And it's like, cool, now rabbits are turning up, because I've diversified the network and the ecosystem so much that the hub world is now getting more diverse. And by the end of it, all these stacking bonuses, I think that's what would make it very fun, is by the end of it, you're like, cool, I've got 1,000% reach, and I've got like 200% bunnies or whatever.
Now I can infect humans.
And like the final run, you're just like going mega distances and picking up tons and tons of bonuses, kind of like Forager in a way, where it eventually gets so out of control, it's just playing itself essentially. But you're just seeing this hub world that started with a tiny mushroom expand under the influence of this massive grid you're creating that you can look at any point, and you're like, cool, these are the routes I took, and this is what created this hub world. And maybe it's got changes. Maybe, you can connect to something that's like, oh, now these flowers you've got, they're blue, or maybe they're way taller, and your hub world could look very different to someone else's. And I think it would be a weird mix of like, it's got this Islanders thing where it feels like you've got bonuses that are stacking over time that you can only connect to at certain points and whatever. I think it could be really chill and really cool, and I really like it. And it's just figuring out the perfect style for it. I kind of like that low poly kind of cartoony look. Like, I don't think it needs to be highly detailed, but you're seeing every blade of grass and every tree you're connecting to. You're just connecting to, like, if you see a sunflower, you just connect to it and you can see the sunflower and maybe a small part of the background. And then you connect to another thing, you can see the rock and the moss on top of it, and that's all you can see.
Sure.
And then it's just zooming across and zooming across. Maybe the map has different biomes as well. Maybe you can connect to a cave entrance, and you're like, shit, I'm now going mushroom to mushroom to mushroom to moss to moss to moss to vine, and you're like going down a cave.
Classic.
You can get like things with the mushrooms that are bioluminescent or whatever. Then put those in your clearing because you've gone into a cave. Okay.
And that's what I'm imagining the game is, and I think it's really cool. If that's what the game is, I play it. There's a part of me that genuinely is like, I want to learn how to make a game so I can explain this better. Like, it's such a cool idea that I've got in my head. I just don't know if I'm actually getting it across.
Ever been so excited for an idea, Tom? This is really nice. This is cool. This is just like the wholesome episode of we've got a really calm, chill, cool, wholesome game idea, and we'll just be nice.
I just think it works. Like, I don't know why. I didn't expect when Alex said I read a book about mushrooms, I would be so into this idea. But I want to eat a book made of mushrooms now.
Honestly, this book, Enchanted Life by Merlin Sheldrake, it's fascinating. If you were interested in anything we were saying at all, go and check it out. It's worth it. But Chris, how are you feeling? What do you think about this?
I've been trying to think of a name for quite some time now. It's not gone well.
Okay.
I don't know. I've been
Someone said
going
something
through-
earlier. I can't remember what it was. It was a good one.
It was it about mushrooms or how I tried to, and no one noticed how earlier when I said, is there a morality system, which is a morel mushroom, but no one realised that I got morality
I
in
also
there.
said shitaku. It's actually shiitake.
Shiitake.
What
so I
about-
kinda messed up. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
What about boletus? Is that how it's spelled? Said?
Boletus. What's that?
Yeah, that's a mushroom.
Bolet.
Oh, it sounds very artsy when you call a game that.
I put it. I dropped it in the chat so you can see.
Wait,
how
I found portobello penis
tasty.
puns.
It sounds
way. No, this won't
sounds very artsy. Have you played Boletus? And they're like,
It does. It sounds
Yeah,
like an
and I
artsy
feel
game.
like-
but that
yeah,
could
it
be-
sounds like-
it sounds quite.
I think
it
it's
sounds quite
it sounds
chill.
like I read a book about mushrooms where the guy grew his own mushrooms in a book and then ate them.
Yeah.
And then I made this game.
It needs to
What
sound
about-
chill.
Portobello.
Wow.
Like that. Exactly like that.
Portobello.
All right. So the name of this episode is going to be one of those things that we've just said.
Wait, what was the guy's name who wrote the book?
Merlin
who-
Sheldrake.
What about
There we go.
Merlin Sheldrake's
Sheldrake's.
wonderful exploration?
Merlin
Boletus.
Sheldrake's Boletus. No,
Yeah.
because there's a chance that he might see that and then listen to
about-
this, and I would be mortified.
How about Merlin Stilettus's lovely stools?
Love stools. What?
Lovely stools. I don't know. I just saw the toadstool and saw the
There you
stool.
go.
It
There
made
you
me
go.
laugh.
Merlin's lovely stools.
Merlin's lovely stools.
stools.
That's wonderful and disgusting.
Because the game does also have poo in it.
It does.
It
when a
does,
bear
yeah.
comes in.
And poo's a good thing as well because you want it to spread
Poo
the
is part
seeds
of
and the
life.
spores and the
And we can introduce
James.
From
religion.
shit,
And when
from
we answer the
shit to
question,
shiitake. Why don't
Yeah.
we call it that?
because
I don't think you can have that in a game title.
Have you
James, what do you think?
Yeah, I love it. I don't know what else to say, really. I think it's a great idea. Super. I like the idea of a chill game. The thing that excites me the most is the whole cross pollination thing. It's like you could get potentially quite unusual results for saying, I'm going to try putting this trait with this thing and see what happens. That's kind of the fun exploration of not only going out but just combining stuff to see what happens.
You earn
and
that
the result
from doing your
is.
runs. Yeah,
And it might
Yeah, I
not
really-
benefit you, but you go, okay, well, I know not to do that next time, and now I need to fix that with this mad mushroom. So yeah, no, I like it. Nice idea.
Rita.
Yeah, I
are you
really like
thinking?
it too. It feels such a, I don't know, just chill, nice, cozy game about
I think-
mushrooms.
yeah.
And I love mushrooms. I love picking mushrooms. I like eating mushrooms. So
Well, yeah. I think that's it. I think it's just the idea that it just needs to feel relaxing. Like you get in that kind of feeling that you had when, do you know, like when you play Islanders, and if you guys we've talked about Islanders on this show before, but the idea of it's like, it's not, it doesn't, you never feel like pressured at any point, or like like you have to really focus. It's just kind of like quite chill, where you're just going, okay, I'll try this out now. Let's see how this goes.
I think there needs to be a Ruta encounter where she comes through and picks all your mushrooms.
It's the mushrooms. Okay,
these are
that's
nice.
an Easter egg. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's it. Okay, that was great. Thank you for taking my fucking weird idea and actually turning it into something good.
a chill game, a really chill game.
Next week, I think we probably are going to have a guest. I'm 90% sure we're having a guest next week. So if we don't, if we don't, sorry, ignore what I just said. And I'm sure Tom will have an even better idea for us then. Rita, thanks very much for joining us. Hopefully you'll come join us again soon.
Yes.
And until next time, thanks everyone for listening. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye 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 bye.